welcome to the official Wisconsin-Theta Podcast, Beyond the Red Door. Welcome to our second episode. I am joined by Austin Dye. Austin, thank you for being here. So Austin is my co-host. Austin, we are doing this together. We are back again. How does it feel to be back?
I'm excited. We haven't gone live with the first episode when we were at the time of recording this one. But obviously, so we haven't gotten any reception or anything yet, but you and I had a chat after that first one. We felt really, really good. So I'm glad to be able to hop back, to continue doing this and pursuing what we hope is a good idea. And hopefully by the time this one eventually goes live, the first episode will be live by then. So hopefully we're getting some good feedback by then. But I'm excited to be back on to talk with you again and just tell some stories.
Oh, yeah. Good idea or not, at least we get time to catch up and, all the times we miss. I think it's really the time we get to spend that we're both real adults in the world is that I send you messages, you send me messages here and there, and then the occasional social media posts. So it's nice that we actually get to talk and, especially learning more. I know we talked about last episode, especially that really kind of how we both thrive is off of deep talks, deep conversations, because especially, in our career lives themselves is that we both kind of discuss, that our job is to ask questions. I ask questions in my day-to-day life, you in order to help others ask questions. So talking and asking questions, interviewing is kind of our shtick here. So it's a nice way for us to not only catch up, but just to kind of get things going. So it's nice to do what we do,
Yeah, this is gonna start becoming my favorite thing of the week. Hopping on, recording episodes with you. I'm just bringing on good guests and, like I said, telling their stories. I'm excited for some of the people we got lined up coming on, and hopefully we'll get some more. So yeah.
Yeah, how was your weekend though?
It's pretty good. So again, to kind of date when we're doing this, it's Father's Day weekend. So we actually celebrated Father's Day yesterday, which would be Saturday, not the Sunday today. But we decided to celebrate yesterday because we just know it's going to be busy everywhere. So did some breakfast, invited some family over for dinner, and then just relaxed. Got to watch some TV with my dad and watch some TV shows together, which we haven't done in forever. So like we were discussing beforehand, we just started watching The Boys on Amazon, promoting it. It's pretty good. So he got into it right away, and it's very fun to just relax and spend time with my dad. So yeah.
Okay.
How about you? How was your weekends?
That was pretty good. I spent the weekend, went to my girlfriend's place. We went to kind of Minneapolis, kind of her family. They were celebrating Father's Day, so I went with her. And we just kind of spent the day, for us being more of a distant relationship. We don't get to see each other all too often, so it's nice to kind of just spend the whole day together. We went to Mall of America. It's a lot of fun there. I think it's just nice also kind of getting some things that I need. I was looking for a charcuterie board. And there's a lot of places that had them, I think. But the first place we went to was kind of a really cool, a great sized one. But the problem about that, it was $54 for a charcuterie board. And I was okay, board? I liked them. Yeah. It was cool to see one. Oh, this is really awesome. It had the dotted outlines of what everything is supposed to be. So that was really cool in of itself. But yeah, I'm not spending $54 on that. So I went to another place.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say went to another place and it was great. Yeah, I found another one they had some weirdly small ones. I was I kind of want something big, but I finally found one at a Marshall's for $14.
Oh, okay, that's a good steal. I was gonna say usually when you think of charcuterie board, it's usually for the bougie people. So I would expect it to be kind of expensive, but that's right. You got found one for $14. That seems like a steal.
Yeah. I don't I like it. I think it's really cool. But yeah, it's just I don't. Also, my whole thing about Marshalls and TJ Maxx and everything about them is their thing is that they only do email and print receipt or printed receipt. There's no only an email thing.
Why would you want both?
Yeah.
Why would you want both?
I don't know why I want
a waste of paper.
Yeah, absolutely a waste of paper. There's no point to having, okay, if you email a receipt, that's fine. But can I just say no receipt? Can that be an option?
You would think.
I don't. In this stage, I keep track of my finances digitally. if I keep track of my finances. But
I mean, I think that's how most people are. Like, I hate receipts. I usually try to decline them. I don't need them. But
yeah,
I mean, some
I care
people are
about
old.
the scribbles.
Some people are old school, like to track that stuff.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
I have an important question to ask you though.
Yeah, what's up?
So, was this like the first weekend meeting your girlfriend's parents, or
No,
have you
this
met
is
them before?
second or third.
Okay, I was gonna ask like how that experience was. Like, it's always
About that
nice
experience
meeting
is
parents.
it's was weirdly good. Never in my life have I met like anyone's parents where like there wasn't an awkward moment. Like usually when you, especially when you meet like friends' parents, there's like a like, hey Jimmy, you left your underwear on the floor, pick it up. Like and you're like standing there's a friend like, this is weird. What do I do? Right? Like I don't like the whole time. Like overall, it was a really great experience. Like I didn't think there was a bad time at all.
All right, well that's good. I mean, like you said, like I feel like usually there's like always some awkwardness.
Yeah,
And
right.
usually it's like the mom that's always like the super nice one, and then obviously the dad just like staring daggers at you and just
Oh
like,
yeah, like the old like like cleaning some sort of weapon on his couch or something as soon as you walk in, or like you know anything you do to my daughter, I'll do back. Like the usual stuff you're kind of bound to expect. But no, he's a pretty great guy, and they were all like really excited to meet me and everything. Their dog apparently hates bearded people, but loved me, so like that's a plus. I don't know, like all sorts of dogs like have like a stipulation of like they hate this kind of people, or they like I don't know, like they hate like one-legged clown people. I don't know, like well, all dogs at some point have like some kind of like preference on who they hate, and their dog was bearded people, but somehow I passed that barrier.
Bro, that was like so specific. Have you ever met a dog that hates the one-legged clown people? That was the example that you pulled out. like it's so natural. Like you had a dog that just hated one-legged clown people.
Yeah,
Personally.
definitely. Our dogs just growing up just had specific types of hatred, but like also for us, like we like growing up, like we had a Chihuahua, and the dog hated me and children. Weirdly enough, because like I walked in the house every single day, and the Chihuahua would bark and nip at me and just like hate everything about me.
I feel like that's most Chihuahuas though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Little devils.
As long as like I will accept smaller animals as long as they don't like nip at me or growl at me, because I'm gonna be like, all right, here we go again. Like I'm just here trying to live my life. I don't know what you have to hate me for.
I don't know. Animals are weird sometimes.
Animals are animals, but don't get me wrong. But their dog is like 14. He is I don't know what breed he is. He's just kind of large, kind of like a floof. He's old, but he's a really sweet dog, and absolutely. But no, I have overall had like a great experience meeting her family. It was like really nice for what it was. I definitely did expect awkwardness. I expected like someone is like be like, oh, we would never expected her to bring a guy around. Like this somewhat like no, like her parents were really sweet people. Like even they went to a Twins game a few weeks ago, and they ended up getting me a hat.
Oh, okay.
But, like they were like they've been really they sent I went yesterday when I was about to leave, they sent me home with leftovers from dinner, so like that was really nice of them.
I mean, is it bad to say that I'm not too surprised, Dom? Like you're always a nice, respectable guy, and I mean, you always are so friendly. So I kind of expect that after like one or two interactions, like you're.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think it's great, and it's a really relieving experience to have that, because definitely as like any significant other, like meeting the your partner's parents is always going to be a road trip in of itself, and you're rolling the dice to figure out what it's going to be.
For sure.
Like you can be as prepared as you could have been in 7,000 relationships. You could be as prepared as you want, and you never are going to be prepared for what's going to happen.
Never gonna be prepared for what walks through that door.
Nah.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that you had a good weekend. That's always important, and be able to celebrate like Father's Day with her family as well, and just be a part of that. It's good.
Yeah, it was definitely really welcoming, because she asked me to come, and it was like, I'm like, hey, this is family stuff. Are you okay? Like, am I accepted to like be a part of this family stuff? She's like, yeah. I don't. Why are you asking? I'm like, I don't know. It's family stuff, man. Like, I don't want to intrude on anything.
Yeah. Oh, so that's good. That is good.
Yeah. So yeah, we are coming on an episode 2, and as planned, we're kind of on the off track to where I get to now turn around and interview you, get to understand your experience about SigEp and how it's turned you into the person you've come to today. So, as the age-old question, which we both love asking, is who are you today?
Yeah. So I mean, like we said, it's a good question to start off on. Age old. I mean, we've only had 2 episodes, so to start
Age-old
off with
for
it.
us, I guess, but
Yeah. Let's see who I am today. So, I mean, that's a good question. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that embodies me. I mean, the way that you took the direction of the question last time was more your career, and so I guess I'll go that route to talk about it since I feel like not a lot of people know what I actually do. But this past year, I finished my master's degree to be a school psychologist. And so if I could define myself by my career, it's that I'm a school psychologist, licensed in Illinois. I'm about to embark on a year of internship to get licensed nationally. And I'm sure we'll get into like the school psych talk a little bit more, but I'm trying to think of what else really like defines me. I don't know. Let's talk about school psych a bit, Dom.
okay.
Since, like I said, not a lot of people know about it.
Everyone always kind of thinks about like, all right, help me with my feelings, but there's definitely a lot more to the just school psych than it is. It's definitely a lot of hard work that you went through.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that's a good starting point for it, because like, for those that weren't in undergrad with us or like didn't know me during undergrad, I helped a lot with the chapter's issues with feelings and emotions because of my psychologist label for my undergrad. But I think we'll kind of get into that. Let's start like from the beginning. So when I started at Platteville, as you kind of talked about last time, I started as an engineer. It was not a fun time. I think I started as an ME or like a wannabe ME, and then switched it first semester to like IE, so industrial engineer. I guess maybe I should say mechanical engineer for those that don't know. But started second semester, I think I was doing industrial engineering with a psychology double major. So I was just really like trying to find as much stuff to do with my free time, I guess. I was knee deep in classes with the double major. It was not a fun time. And let's see, I'm trying to think of when specifically I dropped out of engineering. I think it was 2 years in. So I took like that.
I think I was there when you, and so it might have been your sophomore year, yeah.
I think it was my sophomore year. I'm trying to like remember my timelines because like it's a lot of funkiness. But yeah, so I was double majoring going into my second semester, and then going into sophomore year. So I was involved with SigEp as well as double majoring, and I just did not have any time to do anything. I was bogged down with homework all the time. I was in that like terrible trio of classes where like I think I'm trying to think of like I think second semester I was taking like Calc 2 and like part of Comment for engineers as well as like physics all at the same time. It was awful. Did not enjoy it. And I think Calc 2 I like barely passed. So I got through Calc 1 and Calc 2 and I was like, yeah, I'm in the clear. We're doing good. And then sophomore year hit. That first semester I took Calc 3. Again, was like I think I was more focused on SigEp stuff, and I'll talk about that a bit later, but I was more focused on that than my classes, or specifically just Calc, because I think I passed the rest of my stuff, but ended up failing Calc 3, and then took it again because I was like, that was just a fluke. I think I can get it this time. Failed it again with a lower score, so that just shows that I didn't know what was going on in Calc. And I had a real like, I think like defining moment where I was like sitting there like, okay, like I went through the same kind of discussions that you had gone through when we were talking about switching majors. It was like, what do I want to do? It was a little easier for me because I did have that fallback of like I was already double majoring, so I still had the psychology one as well. But for those that like don't know, psychology as just a major is never like a good option without an actual plan in place, because like most of the time you are going to have to do some kind of grad school and stuff. And so I decided to go for it anyway. I dropped the IE, the industrial engineering major, kept the psychology full time since I had already like done classes towards it as well. And when I dropped it at the time, I didn't know what I was going to do with psychology. So that gets into my like what I just said. Like I didn't have a plan going in. I was like, I'll figure it out. I've got 2 more years left. So let's see. I was doing a bunch of different like co-ops in the area. So like I was still doing them at the same time I was taking classes. So it's a little different than like the engineering co-ops, but and just like interviewing different fields that would benefit from having a psychology degree so I could kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And so I knew that I wanted to do something working with kids because it's something I've been doing my entire life. I mean, my mom's a teacher. And then again, for like those that don't know, like I work at my local park district in the Rockford area from where I'm from. And I've been doing that for 8 years now. So working with kids, running a summer camp, and just helping people. So I knew I wanted to work with kids, but I didn't know specifically what. At the time, I had no idea what a school psychologist was. And I was just thinking along the lines of like a guidance counselor, which I think is what most people also think. So I was leaning towards like guidance counselor because like, it seems like an easy enough job that I could do with a psych degree and just like do counseling. And I'd also talked to like social workers. So those are the people that like actually work with like the families to help kids that are in need in the schools. And so that's something that I also kind of pursued. Like I said, I was kind of bouncing around between like those kind of different things. And then I did a co-op where I was working underneath like 2 different school psychologists in the Potosi school district. So again, near Platteville. And it was just an awesome opportunity. It showed me kind of what a school psychologist would do, kind of the different like advances that I can make later on in my career as well. And so once I had done that, I was like, I'm totally set on this, and decided to pursue that for a full-time career. So again, I finished up at Platteville in 2020. 2020. And then went and did a master's degree right afterwards. So went straight out of school into school again and just finished up that degree. So it's been a lot of schooling. I'm glad to finally be done with it because I mean, everyone I think just really wants to work and get into the field, and extra schooling just is not a fun time. But I'm excited to start work with that. And so, yeah, I'm a school psychologist. That's my job. And I guess I can maybe explain it a little more if we think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I guess what's like a day-to-day for you?
Yeah. So again, like the field is like very flexible. The thing we always talk about is like wearing a bunch of different hats. And so a majority of what the school psychologist would do is a lot of like just testing of kids. So bringing in kids that may have struggles in different classes, they might not necessarily have a disability, might just have some struggles. But that's kind of what my role does is we do that kind of testing to see areas they may have deficits in. We might determine if they do actually have a disability or not, whether it be like, it could be some kind of like physical one, like a common one would be like not being able to hold like a pencil. They could have some kind of physical disability, or just any kind of like intellectual learning disabilities. So I think that's one aspect of the job. Something I'd already mentioned as well. Another aspect is counseling. So occasionally, if a school doesn't have like an actual counselor, I might be doing some counseling groups with kids. It's not the thing I enjoy the most, but is part of the job on occasion, so I will do that as well. And then I think just like being an advocate for kids, like I said, like the thing working in the schools now for a couple of semesters at school, like man, parents are pretty crappy to their kids, and so they don't always know what's going on, and teachers don't always know what's going on either. And so I'm a nice little bridge between the two that kind of gets everybody together and is like, we need to figure out what's going on. We need to figure out how we can help this kid to the fullest, and just get them the help that they need. Because I wouldn't say school psychology isn't a fairly new job, but not a lot of schools have school psychologists in general. Like I'm trying to think of what our national average was this year. Like we're supposed to be somewhere around like one school psychologist per 250 kids, which seems kind of wild because I think the average right now is like 1 in 700. So like if you talk to like your home schools or the schools that your kids are attending, if you have kids, like they might not have a school psychologist. They might have somebody that floats around between a bunch of different schools. And that's I think like a big detriment to students. And I think we saw it a lot more, especially during COVID. Seen a lot of crazy stuff with that, but that's like the biggest thing. Lots of learning delays because of what was going on, and so it's just wild. It's a very interesting career path. I'm excited for it. If any undergrads are listening that are doing psychology, there's a need for school psychologists. So if you enjoy working with kids and it's something that you want to do, I encourage you to do it. I guess like I talked about earlier too, like there's lots of places that you can go with the field, which is nice. Like I could work within a school, I could contract out independently if I wanted to. My like long-term goal is to eventually get into more of an administrative level, and just be able to advocate for kids more that way rather than just being like somewhere lower on the totem pole, being higher up. So yeah, it's a lot of different hats that we wear. So a little bit confusing of a job as well sometimes, but one that's definitely needed, one that's definitely needed for the kids. So it's a very fulfilling job.
Okay, that's awesome though. I think working with people, and that's definitely something we need though. I know definitely growing up, I did talk to one of my school counselors, and they said this is something that every day is working towards betterment, and they're just so happy and blessed what they can do because we're definitely at a younger age. It's hard to find, like, it's just hard to grow up. Whether your background's good or not, there's definitely always struggles talking to that outside person. Them being able to help is definitely something that's such a blessing, and it's awesome to see that you're doing that too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like it's just I think in the past, like a lot of when you don't have like a school psych that's at that like good ratio, like I feel like a lot of kids get, I don't want to say like stepped out, like or the good analogy I guess would be like fall through the cracks. So like there's a lot of kids that they might not be struggling as much as others, so like they just don't get any support until later on when they're really struggling, and it's just like awful to see. Like I don't know. I've seen lots of cases where it's like people that literally haven't gotten support at all until like maybe high school, and then they're like at that point they're reading at like a third or fourth grade level and like can't, like it's not going to help you long term. Like how did this kid get missed? Like it's insane. Um and I could rant about school psychology all day because I mean, we were talking beforehand about like corporation stuff. There's some shady stuff with school, well, not schools in itself, but organizations that provide like school tools for school, so like curriculum and stuff. But maybe we'll talk about that on a different podcast because it's a big rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah.
So how did any of that, I guess, did SigEp prepare you for any of this?
I would say so. I mean, there's at least something that you can always take out from SigEp from the stuff that we've learned during our time with it. Mm-hmm. And I think most of it is probably like just the leadership skills that we talk about and like the small group skills. So like during my time at SigEp, like again, did recruitment stuff pretty much the entire time, and I'm sure we'll get into that as well. But like the Balanced Man Scholarship, like that was something that I always helped with. And obviously like you need to have good communication and coordination with the team members to like get that fully functioning. And I think that works best for what I'm doing because a lot of the times I'm meeting with groups, again, with like parents, teachers, administration, getting everybody together to give these kids supports. And so those skills that I was able to learn through that allow me to help like effectively manage what I'm doing in my small group of these like different parents, being able to explain and like talk them through the process as well as the teachers about what exactly I'm seeing and what we can do to help these kids. So yeah, I would say that it definitely helps. I'm trying to think of other like specifics, but definitely the leadership skills in itself. It's something I've been. I mean, I think I was telling you, and some others might know, but like towards the end of my time in actual school, like we had a lot of meetings with my professors to like just get feedback on how we were doing and how we presented ourselves and stuff. And a lot of my feedback was that like, Austin, you're one of the leaders of this group. Like you do really well with how you communicate and how you take feedback and stuff like that. And that was something that I think took a lot of learning while I was in SigEp and got me to that point. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I guess transitioning through that, do you want to talk about your involvement and kind of how you got involved?
Yeah. So I'll start with the how I got involved first. And it's gonna be a little shoddy because one, I'm not really good at telling stories, and two, my memory is very bad. Really bad, in fact. I just forget stuff all the time. So we'll do our best. But similar to how I think most of us joined, how you described it as well. Sometime in 2016, like spring, I'd gotten a postcard in the mail for our scholarship. And again, like the kind of conversations that we had as well, like it was with my parents. And again, like I think most people that will come on here, it's like fraternities just have that reputation. And so it was never something that I think I had an intention of joining until I got to campus. Like it was always just like, I'll apply for the scholarship. If I get it, I will take it. If I don't, it's whatever. And so I'm trying to think of like how long it took for like, cause I think I forgot about it until I got contacted. So like that was in the spring. I was sitting around working my summer job during, and I think I just like randomly got like a text or a phone call about like, hey, you got, uh, we're gonna interview you for the scholarship, and I was like, oh crap, like cool. Completely forgot about this, but I'll take an interview for this, whatever. And so the person that called me was Alex Hoffman, so one of our members, and I'm trying to think of specifically like where we met and stuff. It's been a while, but let's see, I think we met at a Panera near my house. Yeah, so we went out for some good food. So Alex was a good pick, if he's listening to this. But so we decided to we met up at Panera randomly. I was like freaking out before the interview. I was like, obviously, like we would like tell our people like, hey, like it's pretty casual. You can just kind of show up, whatever. So I don't know specifically what I was wearing, but I'm sure I dressed up a bit, like polo, khakis, on a hot summer day. And like I said, I was like freaking out beforehand. I was like, I want to make sure like the stuff's legit. I remember like looking up stuff on the internet beforehand. Like I looked up like what are some questions that they may ask for the Balanced Man Scholarship. And I actually got a hit on Google from I don't know where. Like I said, it's so long ago, but like it was like talking about the scholarship and like questions that they may ask. So I was like, ooh, I'm gonna be prepared for this. Like I know about the fraternity a little bit. So yeah, so was freaking out beforehand, looked up those questions, kind of had an idea of what some of the questions might be going into it. And then again, like had no idea who like Hoffman was or anything. Show up at the Panera, man's finely dressed, also in the polos, khaki. I think he had a SigEp polo. Which was nice because I never got a SigEp polo, I don't think. So like I was waiting around. I was like, oh, I want to get a like. Once I joined, I was like, oh, I want a polo, look professional, and then I got one. Yeah, I know that's programming's fault. Oh well. Who's our current programmer? Maybe we can get him to do polos this year, and I'll get one.
Yeah, we'll talk to Kyle.
Um, but yeah, so Saul Hoffman. We found out we had a lot like in common, which was surprising beforehand because like originally like when he had introduced himself to me over the phone, I was like, okay, I just knew that he went to one of our high schools in the area, Boylan, and the school I went to was like, I mean, like we have a lot of high schools in the area, they're all rivals, but like we hated kids from Boylan, so I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm expecting here. Like, I came in with like, oh man, like this dude's gonna be like, I don't know. But we had a really good conversation. Like I can't remember how long our interview actually went, but like I said, we just found out we had a lot in common. So like we are both in the area. He was a bowler, and my girlfriend at the time was also a bowler. So like we were just like talking about bowling, which is like the most random
Okay.
about at the interview.
Interview.
Yeah, like I said, like we were just getting close. Like to be honest, like I can't even remember like answering their questions. Like I knew we just had a really good conversation. And so going from there, like I think he might have like posed the question like, oh, like are you interested in the fraternity? or maybe I asked first. It might have been me, to be honest, but I don't know. Like somewhere along the lines, like it got into my mind, and so the months that followed from Hoffman interviewing me to coming to campus, it was something that was like in my mind for a little bit. Like I started Google searching some stuff just to look into it more. Obviously I got like all the reassurances that we usually give, where it's like it's not like Animal House, like nobody's hazing. There's like all the different stipulations that most fraternities don't do. But obviously, like when you're hearing that as a new freshman, you're like, okay, like these guys are just saying it to make it sound good, but but you don't know what it's actually gonna be like until you get there. So showed up to the events again. My memory is so bad, I can't remember what the events were, but I'm sure that they were pretty similar. I think it was the park one that we went to first, and just had a blast. I think like coming into the university, like, so I was rooming with Lucas Fry at the time, and so like he and I knew each other from soccer, and we had our room of 4 with Jared and Luke. And so it was like, got to campus. I was the only one that had applied for the scholarship, so whoever fell through on getting those 3 scholarship forms, I don't know, I can't remember who was VPR at the time, but got to get on it. But so like I had gone to the events by myself, and like I think I was just like, again, like super nervous. Like I wanted to meet a bunch of people. Like I said, like I had Lucas that was coming in with me, but besides that, like there wasn't a lot of people that I knew that were going to Wisconsin and growing up in Illinois. Like it was, so I just wanted to meet a bunch of people. And obviously that's what the purpose of those events are, is for you to meet just a bunch of different people. And so, I'm trying to think of when like Tim came into this too, because like it had to have been one of the, like somewhere along the lines of the events was like, I realized like Tim and I were like in the hall together, or maybe it was after he joins. But yeah, like I said, not good at telling stories. My memory's just so bad. But yeah, like showed up to the first couple events, was having a really good time. And then it had to have been just after one of the events that I got invited over to the house. And so somebody invited me over. We were just like watching movies and stuff. And then Christian Sanchez Alcantar like randomly like was like, hey Austin, you want to come talk in this room? And I was like, what the heck, like what's going on? So pulled me into the RLC at the time, at the old house, and was like, went through the bidding process. Like, not, again, something that I wasn't totally expecting. Like I was like, okay, like I'm having a good time with everybody, but again, like you don't know how the fraternity experience works. Like so it kind of caught me off guard a little bit. So I didn't do the Dom thing and like sign right away. I had to look into it a little bit more, but I don't think I held on to it too long. Like I think it was like a couple days, maybe like 2 or 3, and just brought it back, and one of the best decisions that I ever made. So yeah, like I said, my memory is just so bad, but I came in with a really good class. I'm not gonna name everybody because I'm sure I'm gonna forget somebody, and then they'll get pissed at me. But but it was a lot of fun. Obviously, the experiences had me meet a bunch of different people and give me a lot of good opportunities, and so yeah, that's as much as I can elaborate on that part.
Hey, that's good though. So I guess through your time at SigEp, how did you like? Do you remember any of like the growth that you've had? Like, is there any, like moments that would, I guess, sort of say define your experience? That it kind of just helped you become, I guess, really who you are today in that sense.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of growing that I did throughout my career in SigEp, and I'm sure that if you talk to some of the people that they would also agree with that. I think like, so going back to what we had talked about originally, like once I got involved with the fraternity, I was like gung-ho, I'm doing everything for the fraternity. So I think like first and second semester of my freshman year, I was like on every cabinet. And for those that haven't done that, it's a very bad idea. I don't know why anybody let me do that. Excuse me. But yeah, I was like serving like on literally every single cabinet. I couldn't name you the positions that I was in, but I had like some sort of role just because I wanted to get so involved. Um, and like I said, was an awful idea. So I think that kind of led to the downfall of my grades a little bit. And then so I think like going into and maybe it was second semester or maybe it was after second semester because I think my grades were good for semester. So it had to have been second semester going into the fall. Um, I had like my standard board hearing for grades, and I think that was like a pretty big defining moment for me in terms of like realizing like it's good to get as involved as you can, but there's an extent and a limit to it. So obviously like I got taken off a bunch of stuff. I focused solely on recruitment because that was the one I felt the most passionate about. And obviously like continued forward with that as well, just because like I knew that that was the niche that I wanted to get myself into. And so I continued that going forward in terms of recruitment. So I think that's one defining moment for me. Let me get a drink real quick before I go into my second one because I think this one's going to be a
Hey,
little...
no worries, no worries. Hydration is important. If you're watching this right now, take a drink of water. Stay hydrated.
Yeah, and I'm still recovering from like it took us a little bit to record the first one too because like I had like some like a cough that just would not go away for the longest time, and I'm still suffering from it as you can hear me coughing occasionally. So my mouth is just getting super dry when I talk, but
Decrease them sodium levels.
yeah. But I think my second biggest defining moment, and I think it had to have been my sophomore year, Carlson Leadership Academy. So
Okay.
for those that don't know about CLA, it's like a regional SigEp event. So they've changed it up a little bit too these like past couple of years with like COVID and especially this year I think as well, or like the upcoming one for this year is a little or last year, whatever. I'm forgetting what time it is. But it used to be like you could send as many people as you wanted. They would pick like a track that you would go into. So like they would have one for recruitment, they'd have one for presidents, they'd have one for all the different positions, or just like random ones where you could learn different skills. And they're all taught by different SigEps from around the country that just excel in what they do. And so that sophomore year, I did the recruitment one because again, kind of found my passion towards recruitment. So I did that one with I'm trying to think if anybody else was in it, but like obviously like Nick Korberg was like the biggest one that was there with me. And so we did that track, and it just like opened my eyes to like the possibilities that we could do with recruitment at the time. So obviously like our big thing was like preaching 365 recruitment, doing all this stuff. And I think after that, like Carlson, it just like changed my perspective on like not only recruitment, but just like how to talk with people, you know? Because I mean, for those that do know me, like I'm pretty introverted, I'm quiet, but I find my ways to get into conversations and like get to the points that I want to actually talk about. And I mean, I can be extroverted when I want to, but I'm not like the main one. I usually sit there and listen and kind of talk when I need to. So, but yeah, that like Carlson was just like very eye opening. The guy that led it, his name is Scott Phillips Jr. I think. I added him on LinkedIn because I remember like after that I was like, man, I gotta add this guy. And then Nick and I would always talk about it, but he was like some like I can't even remember like what specifically he done. I want to say like real estate stuff, but that doesn't sound right. I'll have to look after this episode and talk about it. But excuse me, sorry about that. But he's out in like Ohio somewhere, and so he just like does a lot of like recruiting of clients and like recruiting for. He does some stuff with like one of the football teams, so like does a lot of recruiting for football as well. And like I said, he just like just was eye opening on how to like recruit and have conversations with people, like critical and crucial conversations. And I think like that was something I probably should have talked about as well when like talking about what I actually do with school psychology. But just how to have like those important conversations with people about different things, and put me on a bunch of different books. So like the Critical Conversations book is one that I use a lot, and it's one that like I would always give to my littles when they came through. But yeah, like it was just a lot of lessons that I think helped me put me on a good path for recruitment, put the chapter on a good path for recruitment, and then obviously after that, everyone's kind of been building on it year after year and got it to the point where it's at now where we're doing phenomenal. So yeah, that was just a really good experience. Again, my memory is just so bad that I don't know how to talk about stuff for like a long time about that specifically, but it was just a really good experience, and it was like the first I want to say it was like the first trip that I kind of took with like a bunch of guys too. So like getting closer with everybody and then just meeting like a ton of SigEps from all over the Midwest was such a good opportunity. So yeah, I would say those are like my two big, I think like character defining moments for
Okay.
me as an undergrad.
So like when you're like coming into SigEp and everything, is there any moments, I guess, that kind of like kept you around and like through these defining moments that are almost like moments that like sold you, like beyond just like the initial selling point of why you wanted to join SigEp? Like, is there any points that like kept you around that we really thought like, wow, this is SigEp, this is me, this is what I want, kind of thing?
I mean, there had to have been because obviously I stayed around. That is a really good question. I'm trying to think of what specifically I can talk about. I think similar to what you had said in the last episode, like I think living in the house was like a big thing. It's not something I don't think like living with that many people was a good time at the time, but I don't know if I'd do it again. But living with the people in the SigEp house was just an overall great experience. Like we talked about it last episode again, like just having different people always coming in and being able to sit down and just have conversations with so many different people.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the late night conversations, like Jack coming over and playing FIFA with me at like 10:30 at night and just letting me like absolutely destroy him. Just had like just that I don't know, just that openness that everybody had. Like there wasn't a lot of people that like had like closed door, like always locked kind of situations. Like it was always like, hey, like somebody could just barge in and like nobody would care and be like, oh, let's talk, let's end up talking for like an hour or something about different things.
Yeah, I think my thing with that, what I always did was I always said, hey, what are you doing? Nothing, just playing video games. Why? And then just kick open the door or something like that. Like I at least made sure they weren't like sleeping or anything first.
I was kind of rogue. I think I would just go in regardless. But like those instances and then like cooking meals and stuff in the house is always a good time. Being involved with recruitment, obviously, like you just talk to so many different people. And so I think that's also what kept me around a lot, was just because I don't want to say like it got stale, but like you know what I mean? Like if you're always with like the same people, maybe sometimes it gets a little boring. I don't know. That doesn't sound good, but but I just always had opportunities to just meet and interview different people and have those conversations with them where like again like I just learned so much from so many different people that I was able to interview and just gain so many different perspectives. So I think that was like another big another big moment that kind of kept me around, was just like constantly like being busy with recruitment, but then being able to talk to so many different people for recruitment. So like I said, you never know like who you'd interview, what they'd say. You always had something that you could end up talking about, and it was just always so interesting. I had so many interesting BMS interviews with people.
That's really true, honestly.
Interesting dudes.
I think it's the nice part. I think about like the continuous like I don't want to say like the continuous selling of SigEp, but overall like just the continuous wanting to come around and the wanting to like give you that sense of secureness that this is for me, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to grow.
And I think that's a good point that you bring up too, is that because I was selling it so much, and obviously like taken from like a sales perspective, I guess, like when you're selling something, you want to be like like you, I, I'm trying to make sure I don't swear on any of our podcasts, but like you don't want to be like feeding the customer like a bunch of crap, right? And so obviously, like if I'm telling all these people all these good things about SigEp, I want to also be involved with that and like making it good. And so I think that was also like part of what kept me around was like if I'm gonna constantly be selling all the good things that we're doing, then I want to be involved in the processes that are making the chapter good. Um, which like again at the beginning was why I got super involved, and then towards the end of my career, once I figured out good time management and like those leadership skills, I then got involved with a lot more stuff that helped us build the chapter up a bit more.
Okay.
So I think that was a good point that like you had made there. Like I constantly selling it, like I had to ensure that what I was selling was like actually the product that I was pitching. That makes sense.
No, that totally makes a lot of sense. I think it's awesome. So that's good. So that's really awesome to think here about that because like so now that you've done your time, you've done you've been around the block a few times. Is there anything you'd kind of give back? Want to give back to undergrads some advice? Any undergrads? Anyone who's listening in?
Yeah. When we did this last week, and this was also one of our staple questions, just like talking about advice. Like, I feel like there's so much advice that gets repeated, and then throughout the conversations that we have, like, there's advice that we may like subtly give, but not like overall, actually state as advice. But I think like the big one, and I have preached this like before too, is just like don't be afraid to fail. I think that's like the biggest thing. Like both of us kind of talked about with our first two episodes here, like we had chances or like parts in our undergrad career where we probably hit a low. Both like went through some career change or like major changes. And I think those were like the biggest learning moments that you can take from. So yeah, and like and as much as it sucks at the time that it happens, like you're just like down in the dumps, like you probably don't feel very good about what happens. But when you reflect on it later in life, you realize like how important some of those moments were. So like I said, like failing out of engineering, did it suck at the time? I mean, it probably actually, well, it sucked, but like I knew that I didn't really want to do engineering, so maybe that didn't feel as bad. But at the same time, like some of the other like big moments that I'm trying to think of when I failed during my undergrad that at the time I think like kind of sucked, but then like I realized that that was probably for the best. I think like at one point like I had lost my VP position for recruitment because of grades. And I think that was like a big that sucked moment. And then I realized like how important it was later on with my own development personally. Which then led to me getting the position again later anyway. So I guess it didn't really matter too much. But losing out in like different elections for SigEp, I think like at the time like felt awful, but realized like long term again, like you can always learn from and grow from stuff. I think that's like the biggest thing. And like being able to take feedback, that's one of the biggest feedback. I was trying to think of a way to say it without using the word feedback again, but that's like one of the biggest feedbacks I get from a lot of my professors now too, is that I take feedback very well and like actually incorporate it. And so I guess that'd be like my second piece of advice. Like always listen to feedback. People that are giving you feedback, most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, but most of the time are doing it with good intentions. They're trying to help you develop as a person and grow. And if you're going to be the type of person that just like takes it and is like, fine, like I'm still good at what I do, then that's just like not the good mindset to have. Like you're just going to end up failing again. And so being able to take any feedback and just reincorporate it in is always good. I mean, the thing we talk about is like building balanced men. Like we want to continuously improve ourselves. And if you're stuck in that mindset where I'm perfect, like I don't need to fix anything, then you're probably not really living that motto. Like there's always a place that you can grow. So yeah, I think those are my two biggest pieces of advice. Don't be afraid to fail. Everybody does it. It's good learning opportunities. and then taking any of that feedback that you get and just incorporating it into what you're doing. Again, you might find out that whatever feedback you got doesn't work, but at least you tried it. Like, you listened to their feedback and tried to implement it in. Like, you may find that part of that feedback, again, like, if it didn't work, maybe parts of it end up working for you. And so it's still something that you're learning from, regardless on if it failed or if it worked. You're learning from it. So yeah, I think those are the two biggest pieces of advice I can give, just for anybody.
That's really good. To add on to that, even, I think any amount of failure is always, or anything of that, is always an opportunity to grow from. Just spin it around and just learn. Yeah. So I think it's really good to do. But thank you, Austin. I really appreciate you coming out and talking, especially from your perspective. I think we definitely had two very different perspectives coming from SigEp. I myself have never gotten into recruitment, so I think that was really good to see, definitely talk about and get definitely that understanding of that. So thank you for coming out today. I know this is definitely our podcasting, but it was nice, to kind of get here talking, learning a lot more about you and your experiences throughout SigEp. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, we're both from the same generation, so there's probably a lot of people that don't know who the heck we are. And so being able to come on and just tell our stories before we start bringing a bunch of different people on was, I think, a better idea that we had going with this. So yeah, I enjoyed being on. I'm sure that we'll talk a lot more about different experiences that we've had as we bring more people on, especially from like our eras or people that we've done stuff with. So hopefully my storytelling get better as we keep going. My memory is just shot. I got my brain's too big. I got too much stuff in there.
All right. Well, thank you. I would say this is a wrap then on our second episode. So thank you once again for coming out. Thank you everyone for listening in, taking the time out of your day to listen. It's really been a treat for us. We love talking. We love kind of getting out there to share our stories, and we're excited to share our stories from beyond this. Getting everyone, if you'd like to be on the podcast, please just reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Austin is your man behind the screen. Feel free to reach out to him.
Can reach out to both of us.
I guess me too.
Unless you don't want the messages.
So
there's a couple other things too before we head out. So obviously we're recording this on the Sunday, the 19th. Our boys just got back from Ruck, so that's the next episode we're going to be recording. So I don't know if this will go live before then, but we're going to start incorporating a lot of Facebook posts to get like questions and stuff out there. So if you have any questions that you want us to answer or people that we bring on to answer, feel free to reach out to us as well, or comments on that Facebook post once we get it live. But yeah, I'm really excited to get our first guest on and do this Ruck one. Like, it's gonna be a good opportunity. I know you went to Ruck, 2 years ago?
2020, yeah. I went to the first virtual Ruck. I was in the process of getting accepted for the original Ruck, but then they canceled it and then just said everyone's in line for virtual Ruck.
Yeah. So your experience with Ruck is going to be obviously a little different than what our guys that are going to come on this week could talk to us about. But it would be good to get a lot of our other like Ruck scholars on to just kind of see how the experiences are similar or different. I never went to Ruck. The 2021 was after my time. I had already graduated, and then I never made it through the process for the other one. So yeah, it'll be a good opportunity to listen to them and kind of let them share some of the stories that they were able to. I'm trying to think how to word that. that the stories that they're able to tell, and then the experiences that they had there. I've heard a lot from like our generation, the guys that went to Ruck, and the stories always sounded fantastic, and they always learn a lot of stuff. So this next episode after this one is going to be really, really awesome to get them on and let them talk. So yeah, I'll let you finish the outro now.
No, I appreciate you stepping in, because definitely thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Austin. I'm so excited for us for the next episode. It'd be great to hear about their experiences from Ruck. So yeah, if you ever want to get on, if you guys ever want to talk to your story, this is for us to help, kind of grow and, let everyone hear your story. So let us reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. But from then on, we'll see you guys next episode.
Yep. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.